Hey, Abundant Parents, it's Leah. I'm just going to hang out here just a little bit in case some of the folks in the group are able to join. I know it's hard during the day sometimes to catch these. I have lots and lots and lots to talk about. So today's workshop is less about being an actual vision board workshop. I mean, we will talk a little bit about the steps that you can take to create an actual vision board, but that's going to be a much smaller component compared to actually talking about what you do after you've created the vision board. Ooh, man, the hair is cuckoo today. It was really bad earlier. It was like I just walked through like a wall of balloons or something. It's a little bit better now. It's going a little bit better. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the law of attraction and how the steps of the law of attraction work so beautifully with vision boards and setting goals and intentions for yourself and then making those actually happen. Because how many times have you set goals and then a year comes and goes and you're kind of resetting the same goals because you didn't reach them? I know I've been guilty of that. It's a really good time to be honest with yourself about what's working and what isn't, and looking at your flaws and figuring out what you can do to do that inner work to make all of this more effective for yourself. It's not always a fun process, is it? Okay, so because we have so much to say, I'm going to get started. And like I kind of put in the intro of the workshop, this workshop is about having a vision of a better life for yourself, much less so than just having a vision board party or a vision board workshop. And there's going to be stuff that we talk about that might feel really uncomfortable for you. And that's okay, because this is definitely a space of non-judgment, just being vulnerable about about what you're working with, you as an individual, what your strengths and weaknesses are. And this workshop is all about helping you tap in and tune into all of that and make the best of it and move forward in positivity and expectation. Because after all, we grow the most when we're feeling uncomfortable, don't we? So we're going to talk about first kind of the spiritual ability. And by spiritual, it's tricky because the law of attraction can also work if you're not somebody who considers themselves spiritual or religious. However, there is kind of a spiritual element in that you must listen to your intuition. You must tap into what you feel like guides you from really deep within. And for some people, they recognize that as God or as whatever they call the higher power that be. Um, for other people, they're like, nope, that's just all the energy in the world at work. But personally, for me, I feel like there's a really close connection to all of that. So if you guys haven't done so already, I want you to think real quick while I'm kind of telling you my story. I want you to think just a little bit, if you haven't done so already, or even if you have, I want you to think about what your goals are. If you have made a vision board, what were the goals that you put on your vision board? If you haven't made a vision board, then definitely this is a great opportunity to think about what you might want to manifest into your life, because we're going to be doing a couple exercises where I want you to actually lean into that vision, those goals, just a little bit. So if you already have something in mind before we start that, it's going to be easier for you to just jump to that and run with it. So while I'm kind of sharing my story, maybe some of the things that I might say about myself might stir up a goal for you, or you might already have like a really, really clear idea. But I encourage you to do that. I also have a bunch of, so what I'm teaching today is taken from, it's a very punctuated version of the self-love for the busy parent workshop that I did about a year ago. And that workshop was really addressing self-care concerns as a busy parent and how important it is to care for yourself. So I did create a whole lot of worksheets for that. And one of which was a goal setting slip that you can kind of cut up and take everywhere with you. I'm not sure. I'm going to see if I can actually put that right here into the live. If not, I'll post it in the group. Let's see if I can do it. No, it's not going to let me drop and drag. says forget you. So I'll post all of the worksheets and everything from the Self-Love for the Busy Parent workshop in the group. A lot of them are actually already in there that you can find, but there are some new worksheets that I did for people who were joining the workshop later after it had been produced and created live. This is the worksheet for those of you that are in the Abundant Parent Community membership. Anytime I send an email with the monthly workshops, this is the self-love workshop that's like the very, very bottom link in the archives portion of the workshops. It's about a 90-minute workshop, so there's quite a lot of content in it. So if you wanted to watch that in full, you are totally able to do that. So about me. So I was an only child raised by a single mom. And considering that dynamic, she did a really incredible job of modeling self-care to me, modeling the care that a parent should feel like they could take for their children. She would have me stay with her parents, my grandparents, and she would take little trips every once in a while just to kind of get away and reboot. She was good about going to play racquetball. We would totally go to the club and I'd sit outside the racquetball door with my coloring books and my Legos, and I would hang out while she would play racquetball and stuff. And so I had a parent who did a really great job of modeling those good boundaries, of saying that I also need to do things for me so that I can be the most present and happy parent for you. And so that was a really good example. And I always think back to that when I'm trying to set up healthy boundaries for myself with my own kids. However, my mom did get breast cancer at a really, really young age. She was in her early 30s, and I was 7 years old. So when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, my own self-care, even at 7 years old, I really recognized that my own needs needed to take a back seat to what was so obviously a much bigger issue with my mom's health. So I was caring for myself on a very basic level, but even in that young age, I felt like it was selfish for me to be thinking about my needs, my desires, my wishes when my mom's health was so poor and she was fighting for her life. So really interesting what we pick up through life. Even though my mom never asked me to make those sacrifices, I felt it my obligation, but I was happy to do it. I didn't feel that heavy, oh, I don't want to do this, but I'm obligated kind of way. I felt this obligation in, this woman has given me everything and always been such a wonderful mother to me. I feel like this is exactly, everything that I should be doing right now is sacrificing for her. And that pattern really stuck with me, not only in my relationship with my mom, but then elsewhere. And the reason I bring this up is because originally all of this was taken from the Self-Love for the Busy Parent workshop. And I know a lot of us, when we create vision boards, it's amazing how much self-care we put on those vision boards because we're so poor about taking that time out for ourselves. So when my mom passed away, I was 21 years old. She battled cancer on and off. The doctors were constantly picking up when the cancer had metastasized and moved, and then treating it. And so when my mom passed away when I was 21, it was, of course, devastating because she was my only parent that I was connected to. But there was also a sense of liberation because I was able to kind of live for me for the first time in a very, very long time. And for all intents and purposes, the first time in my adult life, the first time probably in my actual memory. But as much as I had that time now to not really be accountable to anyone, it was amazing how I really carried that same dialogue with me of that self-sacrifice, putting others first, not really addressing my own needs and nurturing myself, nurturing that daughter within me. And so when I moved to Los Angeles when I was 21 because I had that liberation. I felt like I could go anywhere I wanted. And I ended up meeting my future husband there just a couple years later. And I was in this perfect position after everything I'd been through in my childhood and losing my mom. So in this perfect position to then become a mother and wife who would self-sacrifice and put myself last and not really deal with my self-care needs. And for all intents and purposes, not really have goals that were related to my own inner guidance and my own desires. After I was married, I went through through fertility treatments for about 3 years trying to conceive my first daughter. And then after I had her, I had numerous miscarriages before having my second daughter. It was a really, really hard time. But still, through all of that, I wasn't, even though there was a certain amount of self-care I needed to take to try to conceive, I still really wasn't modeling to my oldest daughter. And then when my second daughter arrived, I just wasn't modeling self-care, self-respect, any kind of self-love. I was, of course, giving them all of my love and everything that I have. I was so happy to do that, but I wasn't modeling that I had that same kind of love and respect for myself. And nobody else was modeling to my kids that I deserved to have that love and respect and that care. Sorry, guys, I'm just kind of looking at my timeline so I can make sure I touch in on everything. And so then what finally happened was, I was already in a position to have unhealthy boundaries and habits. So I later went through a really devastating divorce. I'm now 3 years out of that, I think. It was a really, really long and miserable process. It was really, really devastating, but it really forced me to reinvent myself, really look at my life and make some massive, beautiful changes in my life. And it's ended up being a really incredible gift. And it helped me awaken to this truth that while everything physically in my life that could be taken away from me, there was stuff that couldn't be taken away from me. And that was my own self-care, my own self-respect, my own self-love. And then modeling that for my children, for my daughters was so important. I didn't realize the importance of that until I had this very clear contrast of living my life before without it and then living my life with it, and the difference that I saw in my children in doing so. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. Let's see, I think we have a couple here. Hi, Diane. Thanks for being here. Just wanted to take a time out to tell you guys, as you join the workshop, be sure to type your questions if you have any as I go along. I love doing the lives so that I can really address your concerns as we're going along. And then, of course, after it's recorded, continue to ask your questions in the comments because I'm here for you. So if I'm not addressing your questions, I'm not answering your questions, and it's all for naught. So be sure to ask. So let's talk a little bit about vision boards and why they work so well. Vision boards began to become very, very popular, I might argue, when the book The Secret came out, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. It came out, oh my gosh, I don't even know now, 20 years ago, maybe? I don't know. My timeline on that is hazy. But one of the gentlemen in The Secret talked very specifically about his vision board. And I can't help but think that that's when they really gained popularity. But I would say that if the law of attraction and manifestation and manifestation is the creation of the desires that you have through using the steps of the law of attraction. So I would argue that if the law of attraction and manifestation had a physical counterpart, it would definitely be vision boards. They go so well hand in hand together. So the law of attraction is deeply rooted in quantum physics. It is this idea that energy attracts like energy. Einstein developed this concept and really kind of simplified it for us when he created the E=mc² formula. But he knew that we really weren't ready to have this bigger understanding that we were actually creating our own reality, our own opportunities, our own desires through the energy that we were producing from within and then putting out into the world. And so he simplified it to E=mc². But the underlying concept of this, as Einstein actually discussed a lot when he would talk to people, was this bigger concept that we are all energy. We all are energy in two ways. One that you can see physically, and then also energy that is affecting us in ways that we can't really see because it's not physics. It's not like a physical energy that you can touch and see and feel, which is what we rely on so heavily to know that there's energy at play in the world. So anyway, the law of attraction is this idea that the energy that you vibrate through your thoughts and feelings and that you put out into the world comes back to you, because we are all energy. It's all energy. It's quantum physics. So this is a big reason why vision boards work, not only in the time that we're taking to create the vision board and we're putting all of our intention into the images and the words that we're putting onto it, and that intention is energy that we're putting out into the world, putting out into the universe. And so And so by focusing and continuing to look at those vision boards and those images and those words, we are constantly tapping in to that energy that's in alignment for our desires, and it causes it to be attracted back into our lives. Another way that vision boards work is through mirror neurons. So I would say in the last 20 years, they discovered that we all have mirror neurons in our brain. And the best example that I use for this is when athletes are performing a sport, they are showing exhilaration and adrenaline and all the things that athletes show when they're performing the sport. They measured the neurons of the athlete, and they measured the neurons of spectators watching the athlete, both in their homes, but then also at the actual events. And they found that the spectators all had mirror neurons, and they were actually modeling all of the neurons of the athlete just by watching them. So they were also firing off adrenaline and excitement and all the things that the athlete was firing off, maybe some anger. So you can also mirror neurons to yourself. You can pick up neurons from other people, even without saying a word. They can just be in a bad mood, and you can feel that, and your mirror neurons are going to mirror that. So being really aware of the energy around you, and that by deciding that you're going to be in a better mood, that you're going to have better energy, you can also mirror that energy to yourself. And then something that I really encourage when you're doing any type of manifestation exercises, vision boards, journaling, visualizations, is that you're really attaching feelings to that. And this is a really big key to the law of attraction and to manifesting, is that you are enjoying the feelings as if as if what you wanted, your desires, what you've desired to happen or to achieve or to draw into your life, that those things have already happened. So maybe a little bit of bubbling of excitement, or that light feeling you get in your chest when you're really, really happy. Alternatively, a lot of times when we're thinking about desires that we really want and want to draw into our life, we can feel heavy about them. We can think how far away we are from achieving them, and it can kind of create a lot of tension in our body. So always being sure that you are vibrating that positive energy as if you're in the happiest place, achieving all that you ever hoped and dreamed. And then another step to manifesting, to vision boards, to the law of attraction, is taking action, which is going to be a big part of this workshop, because the universe loves two things. The universe loves a stubborn heart. The universe loves when you don't give up, because you're constantly vibrating the neurons, the energy of expecting all that good stuff to come into your life. The universe also loves to meet you on your path. So when you take aligned action, when you take action that's really feels good intuitively, that feels in alignment with your inner guidance, the universe is going to meet you on your path. Opportunities that really help perpetuate your path and kind of help keep you going, they're kind of just going to fall into place in a really lovely way. The next piece that we'll talk about is making sure that your vision is readily visible, because we talked about, that repetition is really, really important. So you want to make sure that you have that consistency of thoughts and behaviors. And this is another reason why vision boards work so well, is by putting them in a place where they can be seen regularly, you're constantly reminded of these goals that you had in this vision, and your mind goes there and vibrates that and gets in alignment with those thoughts. And then just believing that it's going to come. It's for those of you who may follow Wayne Dyer, he would always talk about, I think his book was even titled, "You Will See It When You Believe It," because like I was talking about with the science of energy, we've all been trained that if we can see how the energy is at work, we can see the ball rolling, we can see the magnets being drawn to each other. If we can see energy at work, then we can believe it. But until we develop the tools to measure energy, we're less likely to believe it until a tool has shown us that it's at work. So just lean into that Wayne Dyer a little bit, and just believe it, and know that through your belief, it will be drawn into your life. So hi, Christina, thanks for joining. So you guys, I'm gonna in a couple minutes, I did ask you guys to kind of think about your goals. So if you're comfortable doing so, just type a couple words that might be part of your goals in the comments, because I'm going to do a visualization here in a couple minutes. I've kind of included things that were comments from people when I did the self-love for the busy parent workshop. I included a lot of their goals in this because I felt like the things that they wanted to achieve in their life were very, very in alignment with what I hear all the time from clients and parents that they're feeling like they need in their life. So I will lean on that. But if you guys type in the comments some of the things that you want to attract into your life, then I can try to include that into the exercise that I have us do. I'm sorry, guys, I have to stay hydrated. Otherwise, my voice, I start to sound like a cackly old witch. So I know I talked a little bit about how this was taken from the self-love for the busy parent workshop, but when setting your goals, if you have bigger goals that are for your whole family, you don't have to let go of those, but I do encourage you to remember that you are really this foundation of energetic groundedness, calmness, feel goodness in your family. So the more that you are doing that self-care to vibrate that for yourself, the more a lot of your other bigger family dynamic goals that you may have are going to fall into place because you're modeling that energy, and all of your family's mirror neurons are going to pick those up. And then also remind you that good or bad, the universe is always delivering what you are telling it energetically. So just a little reminder to make sure that if you're having good feelings, be really specific with what you want with those, really, really specific, down to size and color and smell, and really allow those thoughts to be drawn out in really lovely ways. Alternatively, if you're having bad thoughts, do yourself a favor as much as you can and try to work yourself back out of that through self-care activities, changing your scenery, getting out for walks, and just making sure that you're not allowing yourself to overthink and really get bombarded in the details of it all, because it's just going to allow, the more detailed you are, the faster your manifestations occur. The more broad and non-specific you are, the slower they take. So try not to focus on all the bad junk as much as you can, and allow yourself to focus on the good as much as possible, because that's what will manifest more in your life that way. And then lastly, just know what you want and know what you don't want. That contrast that you'll hear talked about a lot in the law of attraction, that contrast of knowing what you want and knowing what you don't want, that's what this is all about. That contrast helps you know what your inner guidance might be telling you, what you feel like your purpose might be, what your next step should be on your journey. So just really knowing what you don't want. Don't focus too much on that, but use it as a tool to help direct you to, well, I don't want this, but you know what? I do want this. So, and then you can focus on that, what I do want piece. But so don't be too hard on the things that are not working and that you don't like. Accept them. Be loving and loving of them and non-judgmental of them, and just use them as a tool to help understand yourself better. All right. So I thought we could do a sample visualization exercise. And the one that I'm going to use is almost exactly what Olympic athletes will use. I don't know if you've ever watched the Olympics, but oftentimes you'll hear them talking about like professional athletes or Olympian athletes doing visualization exercises. They will sit and visualize themselves doing the race, completing the race, as if they've come in first, as if they've cleared all of those hurdles, as if it's been a perfect race, because by showing the mind that you can do it, the mind is able to help the body and the physical circumstances to complete it as well. So before I start this meditation, I want to remind you to imagine everything as if it's already happened, and remember to really attach those feelings, those good feeling thoughts. I know when I do these manifestations with my daughters, I try to help them think of something that they absolutely adore, something that brings the most peace and love to their heart. And I'm like, okay, well, remember that feeling now, and now attach that to this circumstance. So like for my kids, it's kittens. My girls love kittens. They're so happy when they've got an armful of kittens. So I remind them of how good it felt when we were able to play with a whole bunch of kittens. And then to have that same bubbly feeling, to tap into that same feeling and apply it to the vision that they want to attract into their life. So I am going to put on a binaural beat. I hope you guys can hear it through the mic. Not sure if it's going to bring it in or not. If it's not coming through, let me know. It's kind of an intense one, but it is specifically for manifesting. And you guys let me know. Hopefully that's okay. This one is actually one of the more intense binaural beats. Usually I try to find the relaxing ones and stuff. I'm just gonna let it play in the background just a little bit. Hey, Mary Jo, thanks for joining. Just to catch you up, we're just getting ready to do a visualization, which is a great tool when you are using your vision board. It's really great to take all of your goals from your vision board and put them into a visualization exercise that you can do. So that's what we're jumping into right now. So if you have some goals of things that you would like to manifest into your life, I want you to really focus on those. Feel free to type them into the comments, and I will be sure to try to add them into the visualization exercise. It's actually quite short, but Abraham Hicks, if you don't follow Abraham Hicks, which is the collective consciousness, if you don't follow Abraham Hicks, I encourage you to do so. She says that if you can hold a thought for 17 seconds, you've already started the momentum for manifestation. So I have the binaural beats going in the background. If you guys have a hard time hearing me, just let me know, and I can shut it off. Sometimes it's hard to get these balances with all the tech stuff. So I'm going to use the goals from all the parents that contributed to the Self-Love for the Busy Parent workshop and what their goals were, because I think they do align with what a lot of people really want in their life. And remember, make yourself a part of the visual. You're not an outsider looking in. You are in it. So you're seeing your own hands touching yourself, touching things in the scene. You're not looking from the outside as if watching TV. Sometimes this can be easier for people. They have a hard time visualizing their hands in the scene doing things. So you can also visualize that your hands are wrapped around a camera and you're visualizing things with the camera. So you're still there on the scene. You're still a part of the vision as opposed to just an outsider looking in. So I want you to visualize your life once all you want is already achieved. I want you to use all of your senses. By using all of your senses, you're really going to tap into that idea that this vision is happening here and now. So close your eyes and take a deep breath and hold just a little bit at the top and release. Take a second deep breath. Hold it just a little bit at the top and release. Keep your eyes closed. You feel good. Your clothes fit really well. You have very low pain in your body and you have very high energy. You feel good. Touch the clothes on your body. Imagine your hands touching the clothes on your body. How light your heart feels when you are rested, and how does your laughter sound when you are laughing with your friends and your family? What does the smell of healthy foods in your kitchen and on your plate smell like? Imagine the feeling of a light chest and heart while you're laughing. Maybe how your mouth might fill up with saliva when you're smelling healthy foods cooking. You can rub your hands over your clothes and they feel smooth. You don't feel like they're cutting into your skin. You're very comfortable in your body. You love your body. You always have enough money and you love spending it. And even more so, you love giving to others. You love feeling like there's always enough money and there's no worries about it. You always have enough energy. You are loving and playful as you put your kids to sleep. You don't feel relieved as they fall asleep. You're able to take that extra time to look at them with their eyes closed and think about how much you love them. And then still be able to get up and do some things for yourself without feeling like you need to go straight to bed. You are so content with your life and your relationship and with your family. You're on a verge of a smile at all times, and contentment bubbles up from your heart. What does it feel like when you feel this happy? When you feel this good? Apply your own vision to what you want in your life and allow all these really good senses to take over. How light and free your body feels. There's no self-judgment. You're completely content. Now I want you to say, I allow this or something better into my life. And then you can open your eyes. So with this exercise, the more specific you are, which I was general because I didn't have a whole lot of specifics to go off of, but the more specific you are, the more effective these kinds of visualizations will be. If you have any questions about this exercise, please be sure to tap in. If there's a specific goal that you have that you don't know how you would visualize that, I can totally help you. But manifestation is about having pure intentions. So obviously, if you have ill will towards somebody, you probably don't want to visualize about that. But maybe perhaps if you want that person to no longer be an effect in your life, you could visualize how easy everything will be once that person is no longer having a negative impact in your life. Do you see the difference? So it's about having pure, loving intentions, focusing on the good, focusing on the happiness, doing all of the exercises and the visualizations and the vision boards, connecting your emotions with what you desire. And then here's the other piece, releasing your attachment to the outcome, which might seem a little bit backwards, but because you have to really vibrate positive energy, you really have to be happy with how your life is now. It's okay to look forward, to dream, to want other things. But by being really content with how your life is now, it allows yourself to be in alignment with all those good feelings of this future that you want to draw into your life. If you start doing this thing where, well, I'm not happy now, but I will be happy when X, Y, and Z happens, then you're not in alignment with that energy to draw that into your life. So you really do have to say, I'm really happy with how things are right now, but it's going to be so great when X, Y, and Z happens. So you can see a little bit of a difference there. And then just as an extra note, that force or pressure of really wanting something to happen, it really counteracts the energetic work you're doing to try to draw it into your life. And then I also want to remind you to be really open to how your visions manifest. It may not happen exactly as you have visualized, or because the universe can be kind of tricky, it can start to manifest things that seem completely unrelated, but those things are actually guiding you to circle back around. And then you may find that even though you thought it was taking you way off track, by just using your I'm just going to start saying yes to the opportunities that are coming to me, you may find the universe has actually been directing you on your path all along. So let's see. And then also, I mentioned just a little bit about how the universe loves a stubborn heart and also loves you to step out onto your path. So just a reminder that you really have to show up. Once you've set that vision on your vision board, you really have to show up. You have to continue to vibrate from that place of ease and contentment. And then you also have to take steps towards your vision, towards your goals. And then I know I mentioned journaling briefly, but you do need another really great tool is journaling. So you can actually take this visualization that we did here in the workshop, and you can actually write that as a journal entry. So you're writing the journal entry in the present as if it's happening right now, but it includes all of the desires that you've wanted to achieve, as if they've already happened in your day, and you're now journaling about how fantastic your life is, how your day was. Include all the things that I talked about in the visualization exercises, sights, sounds, how things feel and touch, the feelings within you, your emotions. Include all of that stuff. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about mental blocks. Right, I just have to shift. Sometimes getting started is our struggle because we have blocks about this thing. Maybe we've been trying to have some of these goals on our vision boards. Maybe we've had those goals for a really, really long time. Maybe we've made several vision boards and the same goal keeps coming up because we either never really got started with it or we fell off the wagon with it. And that's okay. But by addressing addressing any of those mental blocks, either it's a vision that keeps coming up that you haven't been able to manifest. Maybe it's something you've never tried before and you haven't even wanted to try because you have mental blocks about it. Addressing all of those things and just getting them out of the way at the forefront is going to make you a lot more successful in achieving your goals. So something that I like to talk about a lot, and I do this with my kids as well, when they are having concerns about doing something new or trying something new, is we talk about worst case scenarios. And I'm not talking about these really insane worst case scenarios that you'll see in movies and stuff. I'm talking about legitimate worst case scenarios, because more oftentimes than not, this scenario that you've created in your head about the worst thing that could happen is legitimately, realistically, probably not going to happen. So I always ask myself when I'm setting new goals and I'm scared to do them is what is the worst case scenario if I try this, if I just jump in 2 feet first? As you can imagine, as a single mom myself, starting my own business, this question comes up a lot. But I encourage you not to overplan, not to overthink, because taking action is the really important piece. And if you really look at these worst case scenarios, you'll find they're really not that bad. A good example could be if you wanted to start a yoga practice for the first time. And by just deciding to look up a yoga class and just go. Don't overthink about what's it rated, what class your friends all think is the best. If you just look for the studio that's the closest with a schedule that works with yours and you just show up, what is the worst case scenario that will happen? Worst case scenario is probably that you don't really like the studio, that maybe it just doesn't resonate for you, that you feel like everybody in the class knows so much more than you and you can't really relate to them. So worst case scenario is you just check that off your list and you say, that one wasn't really for me, I'll have to try a different one. Outside of that, any other worst case scenarios are probably going to be exaggerated scenarios that are very, very much not likely to happen. And, I also really digging into these what's the worst case scenario idea, you really bring to light your expectations and judgments and all of these self-imposed hurdles. It's a really great tool for really uncovering what is really happening, what is a really legitimate fear, and what is something that I've manufactured to get in my own way of taking the step. Something else I really encourage is the whole fake it till you make it approach. So much like the yoga example that I just used, if you've never done yoga, you just show up like you belong there. And, chances are if you're taking a beginner's class, there's going to be a lot of other people that are either really new or also showing up for their very first day. But if you didn't just take that approach of, I'm going to go to yoga and I'm going to be a yoga-sizer and I'm going to be a yoga person, even if I'm actually not right now, you're faking it until you're showing up and you're doing that practice until you make it. So maybe I shouldn't say fake it till you make it. Maybe I should say practice it until you feel comfortable. But fake it till you make it so much more fun. So if you're feeling insecure about something, just be very forgiving and not judgmental of yourself, because everybody has had to start somewhere. Everybody has had insecurities. I can't even begin to tell you the insecurities that I've had in putting videos out. Oh my gosh. When I think about the very first videos I did and how much I would have to kind of like plan and breathe and get myself into it, versus now where I've practiced it so much that it feels like it's much more at ease for me. So if you're feeling insecure, be forgiving yourself, allow yourself that time to practice and become more secure. And, also just pretend like you're secure. It's amazing how practicing that you are secure, how faking that you are secure will help you become more secure, which is definitely what I did when I first started doing all these videos. The yoga example, if you don't know anything about yoga, you go and you just try your hardest and you show up like you belong there. And you know what? Just because you believe you belong there means that you do. Let's say your goal is to eat healthier, but you know that you've hated just about every salad that you've ever tasted. you just keep trying salads until you find one that you like. The worst case scenario is that you check the list off of all the salads that you don't like. And by continuing to practice, continuing to fake to like salad, eventually you're going to taste your palate and you're going to eventually find a salad that you do like. So just keep practicing, keep faking it, keep getting there, and be very forgiving of yourself while you are on this journey of making your goals, making your dreams happen. Ultimately, and I'm going to read this piece because I think it's really, really important, but ultimately the cost for having what you want is your own vulnerability. If you are willing to be vulnerable and sit with all of the ugliness that is your life, the universe is going to provide opportunities along your path to lessen that suffering. You have to be vulnerable and open if you decide you are too busy. To make these changes and to be vulnerable about what needs to change in your life, you can't be too busy. So that was kind of like an excerpt from my book. And then at the end of the day, if you're not willing to be vulnerable, you're basically just using it all as a means of escape to not face what you need to face to be able to achieve all of these goals. I know that might kind of hurt if you're not in a place to really be open and honest and look at kind of the bad habits that we form over the course of a lifetime. But by really addressing them in as loving way as possible, you realize we all have our doubts, we all have our fears, we all have our roadblocks, but we can unlearn all of those things too. Okay, so with your vision boards, they're a really, really great step to manifestation. Sorry guys, I'm just gonna close my door here real quick because my dog decided he needed to be in here. So the vision boards are a really great first step for manifestation. Not only can they create a really great kind of broad overview of what you want to achieve, but by making that very first step of having some of these bigger goals in a really pretty picture, it can also help you dig a little bit deeper later. So now he needs to be outside and see how he is. Okay, go Ben. So a great example is I went to a free vision board workshop that was actually at the local library here in Marion. And I kind of knew that this year, something that I've really let go, this is gonna be a little ironic, is my own self-care. Says the woman that teaches the self-care for busy parents. So I decided that in this workshop that I did, that I wanted to have a vision board that was really much more about my own emotional and energetic needs that I've kind of been putting on the wayside since my business has gotten so much busier and I have a really hectic schedule of being interviewed on other people's platforms, and it's really thrown a wrench in my self-care. I've ended up being much more busy than I expected. So even though this is in my book, I wanted to show you guys. You can see it's somewhat general. So you have, oh, your images, why you gotta be so tricky. So you have things like find what feels good, which is something that Abraham Hicks talks about all the time. And then I am unlimited. These are all really like broad things. Better life, gratitude, easy, brave, friends, happy, gathering with love. I feel like I haven't had a lot of time to really connect with those I love most. So, and you can see I left a lot of white space because I wasn't really finding in the magazines that they had there at the workshop, I wasn't really finding what was resonating best to be really specific. So I left open spaces, and I will probably go back through and either print stuff off or write it in by hand, really specific ways that I can dive into this a lot more. But I wanted to show you that that you can definitely leave some open space and do it in steps as you are. So I know that the overwhelming view, my overwhelming goal is I want this next year to look more like this. And so now's the time to dive in deeper and find out how am I really going to make that happen. Okay, so vision boards are great, but you, like I was saying, it's really good to have a really clear intention about what you want. Same with that visualization exercise where you really attached your feelings to them. You always have to have this attitude of expectation. And I really encourage you, if you are making a vision board, to as you're building it, add that attitude of expectation into it. So when you're writing, when you're gluing down things that say find what feels good, be like, I am going to find what feels good this year. It's already on its way. When you're writing, I'm going to gather with love, say I'm already gathering with the people I love. I'm already making plans to do that. That's already on its way. And just adding in that expectation, that attitude of expectation that it's coming. You can do that with vision boards, do that with your journaling, and just even doing that in your day-to-day life. This understanding that all that I want, all that I desire, it's already on its way. I'm just finding my way to get in alignment to make that happen, because it's already all exists in the universe. It already exists in the world. I just need to get in alignment so it can just slip right on into my existence. The downside with vision boards is how many of us create them and then we just put them up on the wall, or we put them on our desk, or we put them on a bookcase. Maybe they end up under a stack of papers. Maybe they fall behind the desk. I have a vision board from last year that's behind my desk right now. Yeah. So anyway, you can't just create these and then look at them sometimes in a very non-active way and expect the goals on them to manifest. Yes, they absolutely can. It can take a very long time to do so in that way, but they can absolutely manifest. However, having that extra momentum and that intention and that showing up every day to put those vibrations into the world is going to make it happen a lot faster for you. They're really great too, because they are visual reminders of bigger goals that you want to achieve. So journaling is great. Writing all these things in a book is great, but how great is it to have a vision board where you can just glance at it and there'll be one picture on there and it sparks this bigger thought and this bigger dream of a much bigger story that you are manifesting into your life. It's a really great tool. So let's see. So next step with your vision boards is you want to make sure that the images you're selecting are true to the goals that you want to achieve, that they really properly represent what you have in mind. The more specific you are with your goals, with what you put on your vision board, with what you write down on your goal list, wherever you decide to write down or collect your goals and be able to revisit them, make sure it's as specific as possible. The more specific you are, the faster everything will manifest. The less specific you are, the longer it takes, because the universe has to fill in all those blanks of figuring out, like, what does she really want? What does he really want? Also, having images that are really intentionally correct are important. So being specific is really important, but make sure you're being the right kind of specific. Make sure that the image you're selecting is really the intention that you're hoping for. Like if you want to, one of your goals this year is to be in better physical shape. Unless you really want to be a bodybuilder, don't put up images of people with bodybuilding physiques, because it's not intentionally correct for what you really want to draw into your life. If you are somebody who's very curvy and you really like to embrace your curves and you just like to slim down just a little bit, then find a lot of these really amazing body positive people that are online and maybe use some of their body positive images that is more in line with what you really do want to achieve. So that's just one example. And your vision board, it's more important for it to have this intentional correctness, for it to be more in line with your actual goals and for it to be really pretty. And I know that probably makes all of my artists and crafters in the group cuckoo, but it's really less important how pretty it is and more that the images that you've put or the words that you've put are very, very specific and accurate to your goals and what you want to draw into your life. Something that I often do as well, like I was talking about with my vision board here, something that I'll often do is something like this. If I couldn't find the specific images that were calling to me, I might just do a Google search. So, or I might put like my actual family photos. Like if I have a picture of my daughters and I where we're playing in the river and having a really great time, I'm actually just put that here because that is something that I can really tap into emotionally, a time that was a really great day. And I can draw on those feelings, that emotion from that day to say, yes, I want a lot more of that in my life. I can also go to Google and search images. And something else that I've been known to do is to cut my own head off and glue it on pictures of people doing things that I want to be doing. Like people who are public speaking. When I wanted to do a lot more public speaking, I cut my face out and I put it on the image of a woman that was up on stage doing public speaking. And there you have it. Let's see. Just going through my notes, bear with me. So when you're done with your vision board, I think I talked about this ever so slightly about my vision, one of my vision boards slipping down the back of my desk. I actually had two different vision boards. One was a lifestyle that I hoped to achieve, and another vision board was more about my self-care and my self-love. Remember at the beginning of this workshop, I told you, or maybe it wasn't the beginning, just a little bit ago, I told you how I'm actually really terrible at taking care of myself this year. Well, guess which vision board was the one that fell behind my desk and got completely ignored? Yeah, it was the self-care one. Maybe I just need to dig that one back up and just recycle it. But put them somewhere that you can see them every day. My other vision board, the one that's more of like a lifestyle vision board, that one is up in my kitchen. It's right behind my big cutting board. And my kitchen is kind of the epicenter of my home. It's the place where I'm going to feed the dog and I'm washing the dishes and I'm packing my kids' lunches. I'm probably in and out of my kitchen 20 times in a day. Every time I pass through the kitchen, I'm getting little glimpses, little glances at this vision board that I've created. And even if I'm not stopping and really focusing on it, I'm getting little subconscious messages from it every single time I pass it. So put your vision board where you can see it every single day. I'm also one of those people that loves to put affirmations everywhere. Next to all my light switch plates, I have little tiny signs that say breathe. The power of breath is amazing. It's totally unrelated. And I also have affirmations all over my bathroom mirror. It kind of looks like a Pinterest board in my bathroom. And then on that note, something else I do in my kitchen is we have one of those Brita water filters on the counter. And I put little manifestation notes on the outside of the water. You know, we are, depending on your body weight, women, we're closer to maybe like 55% water. I think men, depending on their physique, are closer to 65, 70% water. But we are made of an incredible amount of water within our bodies. You don't have to look too hard to see how the ebb and flow of the tides of the ocean are impacted by the moon. We are all energy, and water is greatly impacted by energy. And so I'll put notes, manifestation notes, like I'll put some washi tape and I'll write a loving and peaceful life, and I'll tape it to the outside of the water jug. And all week long, my daughters and I will read that note and we'll drink the water, and we'll put that intention into the water, which is a great conduit for energy. And then we'll be drinking that manifestation water. This is another little tip thrown in there for you guys. Okay, so your goals. So I feel like this is a really good time to talk about our spiritually aligned or intuitively aligned, whatever you're more comfortable associating with, but this intuitively aligned goals and action. I think a lot of you would agree that in our current culture, we're very programmed or conditioned to ignore our intuition and to do what we are told is best, or to do what is historically or culturally more accepted. And we may not think a whole lot about that until we really start to explore our own needs and our own care and our own dreams and visions a lot more, and kind of bust out of that a little bit more. But I think the internet is really opening us up to a lot of information, and we're able to take a lot of knowledge and a lot of facts and a lot of studies from a lot of different places, and we're able to make our own decisions in a way that we haven't been able to before the internet was around. There was a much more limited amount of information available to us. So first is making sure that you're really aligned with your own goals. And this is not a culturally programmed goal or a goal that your parents made for you when you were young. And then next up is recognizing what feels good, which is also going to help you know if you are aligning your goals with what truly resonates for you yourself, as opposed to what you've been told. Like if somebody told me that I should be a doctor, even though I would be helping people and I would be making a lot of money, it doesn't feel very good. I think about being a doctor and I'm like, ew. Whereas me now, maybe not me 10 years ago, but me now, if somebody's like, hey, you should really start doing public speaking for, I'm going to throw something out there for, somebody actually just recommended that I do my anxiety workshop for parents of kids with special needs. And they've asked me to come into their group and to provide the anxiety workshop that I did for all of these parents of kids with special needs. That was something that was suggested to me. And even though it wasn't my idea at the time, it felt really good. It felt in alignment. It felt true to what I wanted to do. So recognizing what feels good when we are in alignment with our intuition and our inner guidance, and listening to when we're getting messages. And if you're not good at listening to your intuition, as many of us are not, start practicing. You can start practicing with, what do I want for dinner? And just really listening and saying, okay, really want X, Y, or Z, and listening to what feels good. I mean, start small, practice with the little things. When you're setting your goals, if you hate running and you want to add more cardio into your life, then don't make running your goal, because that's not intuitively in alignment with what you want. On the other hand, if you've never been a runner and the thought of running is like, yeah, maybe I could try running, that's okay then. That's a totally different story. But if you put a picture of a runner on your vision board, every time you look at that picture of the runner, you're like, oh, heck no. So just be really aware and intuitively connected to what kind of goals you're setting, and make sure they're really true to yourself. Make sure you're always asking yourself what feels good, not only in the goals that you're setting, but then in all the little action steps leading there. Because you can have a goal that feels really, really great, but you're always going to have an option to take several paths, and some are going to feel a lot better than others. So remembering to always lean into those better feeling paths that lead to better feeling thoughts that ultimately lead to you reaching your goal. How are you guys all doing so far? Am I making sense? Am I giving you guys what you need? I hope so. So I'd ask now, can you think of a time where you took action and it felt really out of alignment? And it didn't feel good when you took the step, and then it didn't really end up being successful. Maybe it was even what you might define as a failure, and you just never really achieved it. I want you to think about how all of that felt. And like we were talking about earlier in the workshop, using that contrast of knowing what doesn't work when you have goals and you take paths that don't feel good, really recognizing that concept, that contrast, and using that example to remind you of what this different path of using aligned, intuitive, inspired action is going to feel like. So not being judgmental of that time and that mistake and that lesson and that failure, but saying, I know what that feels like. I know that doesn't feel good. And now this time I'm going to take this path because this feels better, and I'm going to listen to that guidance. Okay, so let's move on to what you can do to feel good now, because we talked about what you want to manifest in your future. But remember, I said you also want to make sure that you're really happy in your current life circumstance, so you can vibrate really good energy. And the way that I do that best is by taking good care of myself, because I always feel best when I have no pain, when my mind feels clear and inspired and happy, when I'm not getting sick all winter long, when I have better energy. So what can you do to feel good now? So I'll just list a few. Oh, Mary Jo, just backing up a little bit. Mary Jo said repositional glue on vision boards for perfectionists. Yes, but I would also remind you that it's less important what it looks like, and more important that the visions are really true to what you want to draw into your life. But yes, the repositional glue is a lifesaver, or vision board saver. What can you do to feel good now? So I'll just list a few, but remember, the more you take good care of your body, the more you take good care of your soul and your soul and your mental health, the better you're going to feel, and the more positive vibrations that you're going to put out, and the more that people are going to be drawn into your life to help serve you or help you on your path in some way. So something that, Mary Jo, easy for you to say. So what you can do now, something that I do every single day, is meditation. And this is not me sitting on the floor with a whole bunch of candles and a Buddha statue humming. This is me listening to a lot of guided meditations, because I have a ping pong brain. So my mind bounces around a lot if I've been given a lot of time to be left with my own thoughts, which I know is a big piece of meditation, is learning to quiet your mind. And I do that as well. But the meditation that I do every single day is guided meditations, because they really help me stay on track with my thoughts. And I feel like it's really strengthening my mind in really positive ways to tune in towards positive thinking. Yoga really keeps my body pain-free. It's a practice that I do as often as I can, even if it's just grabbing 5 or 10 minutes here or there with my busy parenting schedule. Eating well is so key for me. I have PCOS, so the healthier I eat and the more sugar I avoid, the better my energy is, and the better food choices I make, because I'm not craving the sugar as much. Mental health is going to help support you in every way. There's a really strong connection between your gut health and your mental health. So taking really good care of your stomach, eating probiotics and fermented foods, staying away from the junk food is all going to help your mental health as well. And it's going to make you a stronger manifester. Bolstering your immune system is going to help you not have those big waves of colds and flus. And all of that's going to help you have better energy and help reduce the inflammation in your life. So those are things you can do to feel good that are very much in your own control. You don't have to rely on manifesting those things into your life. Those are things you can take teeny tiny steps in doing. There's lots of free yoga and meditation on YouTube. So let's talk now a little bit about hurdles. We all know the goals we want to achieve. So why haven't we done them up until now? Of course, there's definitely going to be the goals that are new, but I'm sure for me, I know there's lots of goals that I've been kind of recycling over and over and over again. So let's talk a little bit about resistance. Resistance is that energy that pushes back against what we want to achieve. So it can be an awareness of what we don't have. It can be goals that seem too lofty or far-reaching. They seem too far away. It can be fear. It can be fear of trying to achieve our goals. It can be resistance can be thinking about how all the times it didn't work in the past. There's a lot of ways that resistance can come up and push back against what you're wanting to achieve. So try to notice what your blocks are as your goal setting. The more you're able to really be honest with yourself and vulnerable about what's blocking you, the more success you're going to have. So if you're seeing a really fit woman, you're using an image of a woman that's really fit for your vision board and you'd like to have a better physique. But when you look at that picture of that woman, you're feeling jealous. And maybe you're making judgments about why she's so fit. That's going to create resistance, and that's not at all going to help you manifest that into your life. Even just a little bit of hate, that image is probably not a good idea. Find one that's more in mind for your goal-minded images. If seeing people's bodies is just not working for you, really listen to your intuition. How do you feel when you look at those pictures? If the picture of a person's body or physique is not resonating for you, but maybe perhaps a picture of dumbbells or a pair of tennis shoes is, use those instead. If it's something that makes you feel better when you look at it, but you can still associate it with your bigger goal, it's still going to work. But just try not to bring that resistance into it. There are a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors. I know I've got a handful myself. Some are really obvious and others are really deeply embedded subconsciously. Some of them we may have even gotten from our parents when we were children, through things that they did or said or modeled for us. I know for me, my mom passed down a lot of judgments about money, about financial issues. She would always talk about how there wasn't enough money, even though she would take trips and she did have a gym membership and we would go on trips together. And I'm sure that she worked hard for her money, and I'm sure that she had to budget very carefully, but she talked a lot about the lack of money that we had. And I subconsciously took on a lot of the judgments about money. She also made a lot of judgments about what people with money were like, in a couple ways. In one way, she would put them on a pedestal and make them seem really, really important. And then in another way, she would also talk about their bad morals, or people who had money that had done bad things, or that type of thing. So she made judgments about people with money. She talked about how hard money was to get, how hard it was to bring money into her life. And so in all of those ways, I've strived really hard not to make those same kind of conversations with my kids. I actually make a point of talking to my kids and pointing out to my kids the really wealthy people in the world who are doing good things. They're giving back to mankind. They're giving back to their communities. And anytime my kids find money, even if it's just a penny, I make a point of telling them, man, money comes so easily to you. I'm trying to reprogram those judgments and stop that cycle of believing that that money can't come easily, because after all, money's just energy. And the same thing goes with judgments about self-care. So while my mom modeled really great self-care, I was not doing that for my kids. I was making sacrifices and martyring myself for my self-care. So just being really clear about what are your own judgments, what have you picked up from others, and making sure that you are really addressing all of that kind of stuff, because it is going to affect how well you can manifest if you're not really addressing all of these judgments and understandings we've come to have about things. And then lastly, and that's something else that you can hold, that can hold you back, is the guilt that you have about things. So I've started, something that I really did was I made myself feel guilty about the time I was taking to give myself self-care time, self-love time. And as I told you in my story earlier, that's something that came from my childhood, but it was getting in the way of me taking care of myself. I had to let go of saying that I shouldn't be relaxing. I shouldn't be doing yoga. I shouldn't be doing things for myself, because there's all of this long list of things I need to be doing. And I had to make it more of a priority. I had to give the self-care a place in my schedule. I had to give it a place in my to-do list. And I had to change my mind and tell myself that it is absolutely just as important as this other really long list of things that I need to do. Am I still working on that myself, even currently? Absolutely. As I showed you with my vision board, this last year work got away from me, and I stopped doing all the hikes I really loved doing, and I stopped doing the yoga that I really loved doing, because I had this overwhelming, all these guest appearances I had to prepare for, and all these articles I had to write, and I really discovered that I was overbooking myself, and that I needed to take a step back and say, you know what, the self-care is just as much of a priority as all of these other things that I'm doing. And because I'm manifesting my career and my success into my life, that it's okay for me to relax and enjoy my present circumstance. See how it all kind of circles back? So I created a system for my self-care where I made sure that it was getting scheduled into my day, that I made sure that it was on my to-do list. By having a really specific time that I was going to do it, it made it happen more frequently. And anytime I was in the middle of the self-care regimen or routine or event or whatever it was that I was doing, if other concerning thoughts of things I needed to remember to do would come up, I would either keep a running list on my phone, or I would keep a notepad next to me while I was doing the other thing, and I would just write it down. And I knew that it was going to be somewhere where I could come back to it later, and it gave me that freedom, that mental freedom, to let go of it, let it go out of my head, so I could refocus on being in that self-care moment. And because the way that my mind works, it was the number one way that I was able to get myself refocused on that me time that I so desperately needed. So let's see. So something that I put in the Facebook group here is a printout that has 4 little squares on it, and you can cut it out and put it on your vision board. You can just kind of keep it around your home. You can print as many of them as you want to. And bear with me, I'm just gonna find the printout so I can read along with you guys. I'm gonna put it in the group. Well, it's already in the group, but I will repost it after the workshop so you guys can find it. Where'd you go? Okay, so it is a little printout that has a self-love vision on it, and it says the steps necessary to get started. The step 1 is research, step 2 is decide, and step 3 is schedule. And then the bottom part of it it says what's going to keep me accountable in the 3rd month, in the 6th month, and at the 1-year mark. And then at the very top of it has a motivation scale for how motivated are you to actually do this thing. And I will definitely include that in the Facebook group. If it's not actually in the group, I'll be sure to add it for you guys. So on that note, on each goal, I want you to write down the goal that I want you to focus first on the goal that you think you're least likely to do because of your hangups, your self-sabotaging, whatever you think of. And then I want you to go back to all the steps that we talked about. What's the worst thing that can happen? And then I want you to follow the steps on the sheet. So I want you to circle, I want you to write what the goal is at the top. I want you to circle the motivation scale for it. I want you to write down the steps necessary to get started. So I want you to, like, I'll use the yoga example again. So I want you to go onto Google and find the yoga class that works with your schedule and location. And then I want you to decide which class you're going to go to. And then I want you to just schedule it or find out if you can just show up or whatever you need to do. But I want you to put it on your schedule. You go to that very first class and you don't overthink it. You don't find out who liked the studio, who didn't. You just show up. Now, if going out and doing something like that is not in your budget, there's so many options. You can go on YouTube. There's Yoga by Adriene is really fantastic because a lot of times she'll do a series, like a 30-day series of yoga, which is not only great to have that accountability that somebody's putting a video out every day for you to do, but also if you do something for 21 days, it's more likely to become a habit. So I will put that little form for you guys to use. And then there's another graphic I created. I think it's also in the group, but I'll repost it. It's little vision board phrases that you can cut out and add to your vision board if you want to. Long-term achievement is another thing that we can struggle with. We can really be quick out of the blocks and then slowly lose our mojo. So be sure to remember that none of this is going to happen overnight. If you need to give yourself little wins, little prizes, little things to help you stay accountable as you go along, be really self-aware of when you know you're starting to lose interest and be like, okay, how can I reinvigorate myself? What kind of new goal can I set? Can I go buy some new tennis shoes if I do this for 3 weeks in a row? Find really interesting ways to keep your interest sparked. And don't forget that by starting really small, you make your goals more achievable. Don't look at the big picture of like the final physique that you want to have. Remember, we're breaking all of this down to teeny tiny goals. What is the absolute very first step that you can take? And that printout that I just told you guys about, that's going to help you guys do that. Always remembering worst case scenario if you're feeling scared, because honestly, usually those worst case scenarios are not so bad. And then also remembering that we have other hurdles sometimes. Sometimes it's a really tough flu season and there's like unimaginable puking and snot. And you have to readdress your self-care. Maybe your self-care is more about boosting your immune system and sleeping more during that time because you know that's what you need. Just remembering not to judge yourself through this process. Let's see. And then talking about intentions and some of the goals that we might have and ways we can incorporate them into your lives. So I gave you guys the forms, or I'll be giving you guys the forms to set your goals, but you have to set the intention that you're going to achieve it. This is an energetic, this is a mental thing, but you have to say, oh, I'm going to write this down, but I don't say that I'm going to write this down, but I probably won't finish it. I probably won't do it. Oh, I can't do this. You need to start practicing the intention of, I'm setting my intention, I'm going to do this, and so I'm going to do that. Even if that means you have to look in the mirror and say, this year, I'm already on the path to getting in shape. Make sure that you are always affirming yourself, always setting the intention of success, because the mind and the energy is so powerful that if you use that negative language, if you don't truly lean into those positive intentions, it will really impact how you're able to deal with your goals. Accountability is also really, really important. Setting schedules on your phone can be really great, and reminders, checking in with yourself at 3 months, 6 months. My kids have been really great at accountability. I set my intentions with them. I tell them what I'm setting my intention for, and they help me stay accountable. Like, hey, mom, weren't you going to, and even though part of me is like, I want to eat the cookie. The other part of me says, you know what? Thank you. I have wanted to reduce the sugar because it makes my energy really low. Thank you for holding me accountable. You know, like, don't underestimate the value of sharing your intention with others and having them help you stay on track. So we can continue all this conversation in the Facebook group. I do offer coaching sessions, and I can also offer accountability tracking with you if you do feel like you need help. But let's just rehash everything over again. So your steps to an effective vision board are having specific goals. You want to use images that are intentionally correct to the goals that you want to achieve. If you find the right images, if you don't find the right images in a magazine, be sure to just go online and or type them up yourself until you have the exact correct intentional images and statements. Identify and write down your specific steps to work towards your goals, and then take time out to check for alignment and intuitive nudges as you go along. Take the first step. Make it a very small step, but just take that first step. Place your vision board where you can see it several times a day, and believe and feel as if what you want is already on its way. Have a system for accountability, and then use affirmations to keep your vision alive. I put a graphic together of this for you guys. I'll post it in the group also, that you can print out and kind of help remind you to stay on track with your vision. But I'm here. Ask your questions. If you guys have more specific questions about the law of attraction and how we can lean into that more with your goals, I'm absolutely happy to do that as well. And I'm just going to scroll back through and make sure I got everything covered. I think we're good. I think we got just about everything. But, you know, there's a lot more to play with the law of attraction energetically. But this is a really great first place to start with making your vision board work for you, and just not counting on making it and then sticking it in a corner to make that happen. So thank you guys all so much for being here. If you have more questions, post them. I'll be around. And if I don't post all the graphics, remind me that I said I was going to do it, because I'm actually getting ready to travel, so it might skip my brain just a little bit. If you had more specific questions, anything that I mentioned that I didn't include, any links that you're interested in from things that I mentioned, just pop it in the comments and I will do my best to add all of the content in there. Thank you all so much. Have a really wonderful day. Bye.